في سننه ولأحمد رواية تختلف لفظا تتفق معنى عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنه قال. The hadith in collection of Imam Ibn Mاجه has a authentic chain of narration. We said it in صحيح. It's also narrated by Imam Ahmad, has different wording a little bit, same meaning. I'm going to use the narration of Imam Ibn Mاجه. Then the theme of significance of Masajid is still pretty much the same. We're going to go on this for a while. And this is one of the kind of clear-cut ones because the Prophet ﷺ says something very clearly, and it's a nice kind of hadith to build on. قال عبد الله بن عمرو صلينا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم المغرب فرجع من رجع وعقب من عقب. So we prayed with the Prophet ﷺ Maghrib, and then some of us went home, and some of us stayed in the masjid. Because Isha is another maybe hour, so stayed in the masjid and recited Quran. قال فخرج علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم مسرعا قد حفزه النفس وقد حسر عن ركبتيه. The Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, as we were doing that, he comes out and towards us, like he prays Maghrib, he comes out running. حفزه النفس, meaning he's almost out of breath, like it seems like he's coming. There's a really important thing he wants to tell us. And his hasar al rukbatay, meaning his pants that he's wearing are up to his knees. It's as if he was doing something or fixing something, and he was kind of has his pants up, and he comes running, and he hasn't really put his pants down, and from his knees down, and he's breathing a bit heavier than we're used to. فقال أبشروا, great news. هذا ربكم قد فتح بابا من أبواب السماء باهي بكم الملائكة. Your Lord right now has one of the doors of heaven open, and He is showing you off to His angels. يقول انظروا عبادي قد قضوا فريضة وهم ينتظرون أخرى. My servants have prayed their obligatory prayer, and they're in the masjid still they're waiting there for the next. Like they're in the masjid, they haven't gone home, they decide to sit there and wait for the next obligatory prayer. And this applies for prayers that are close by together, at times where you're not supposed to be at your job. So if you're going to do that and get fired, then that's not really going to apply to you. But in examples, and the beauty of this hadith is that the example that the hadith actually contains is that what salah did they pray with him, alayhi salatu wasalam, it was Maghrib, right? So that's the actual hadith, and that's why I chose the narration of Ibn Mاجه, because it specifies it. They prayed Maghrib, and they sat and said, you know what, and the reason that I'm bringing this hadith up is to kind of maybe add to what I said yesterday, is that they treated the masjid as this was their center. This was the community center, it was the hub, it was where they stayed. They found value in being in the masjid sometimes. Just, you know what, we're going to pray Isha, might as well just sit here then and recite Quran and maybe listen to something helpful and then pray Isha instead of going and then maybe not coming back later because I'm too lazy or I got tired or I took off my clothes and I'm sitting on the couch and I'm not going to get up anymore, so I'll just sit and recite. So there's value in being in other hadith that I will narrate to you. He would use the word ribat, alayhi salatu wasalam. You're sitting, waiting from one salah to the other in a masjid is similar to someone who's performing ribat, someone who's actually on the front lines defending Muslims. And I'll explain that hadith when I come to it, but the concept is still there. It's the same thing. This is the Muslim community center. Once these places don't have value anymore, fellows, we've lost. Like it's already been lost. Everything's been lost. Doesn't matter anymore. The manifestations of that loss is just a matter of time. It will occur all across. The ripple effect will come toward the house of every Muslim, and the Muslim ummah will start to completely crumble. The moment that these places aren't community centers, it's not where people find themselves comfortable. The moment that you don't find an easy reason to stay in it, when you don't have anywhere else to be, or when you're not necessarily needed elsewhere, when this is not the place that you think of going to first, when it's not the place that you actually make time to go and spend in it, and you make a point of being there, and you make a point of being a part of it, and you continue to push that for the rest of your life, that is when the ummah falls to pieces. There has been a devaluation of masajid. Right after it was right after COVID, I think. I think the best example of it was just during COVID and afterwards, it took a long time after COVID for people to actually come back and pray Jumu'ah. You grew up hearing the hadith that if you miss 3 in a row, يَطْمِسُ اللَّهُ عَلَى قَلْبِكَ, your heart is being stamped, basically. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will not guide you. It's a horrific thing. And yet people just, especially young men, they just missed Jumu'ah, didn't really think much of it, and they had no good reason for it. And they could easily ask for half an hour and go pray in a nearby masjid. So we have to bring this back, and I think this is not only, and it's not just my job, it's actually yours. As someone who comes to a masjid, by continuing to do that, by raising the importance and the priority of coming to Masajid for yourself, and then raising it for your children and for people in your life, and making sure that they grow up understanding that this is where you go. And no matter where you're dropped, wherever you're parachuted in the world, in your life, you go and you find a masjid, and you go pray in it. You don't have to like the people there. You don't have to like the way it looks or the way it smells or how the people behave in it. It doesn't matter. This is the Muslim community center, and we are all responsible for it, and it's not owned by anyone. Even though there may be a board and a few, it doesn't matter. They don't own the house of God. No one owns the house of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's owned by Allah. We're just servants of it, and that has to be remembered all the time, that that's what this is, and that's how we're supposed to value it. And that's the point of me giving these khawatir. I'm sorry, I'll narrate again. يروي الإمام ابن ماجه في سننه بسند صحيح ولأحمد رواية أخرى واللفظ لابن ماجه عن عبد الله بن عمرو بن العاص رضي الله عنه قال صلينا مع رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم المغرب فرجع من رجع وعقب من عقب فخرج علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم مسرعا قد حفزه النفس وقد حسر عن ركبتيه فقال أبشروا هذا ربكم قد فتح بابا من أبواب السماء يباهي بكم الملائكة يقول انظروا عبادي قد قضوا فريضة وهم ينتظرون أخرى. صدق رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. جزاكم الله خيرا وبارك الله فيكم. Forgive us for taking